emergency alert message that went out today part of another trial run to see how Americans would respond? I don't know. It's definitely disconcerting that they would commit this mistake test run of the emergency alert system amidst the general concern about the Ebola outbreak. Let me know in the comments below if you saw this.
So there you have it. Here's the emergency alert system that is under the direct control of the White House. As Fox News pointed out, it can only be activated by the president in times of emergency. They put this out, and then when people get upset about the false alarm, they blame it on a nationally syndicated radio show that they say is not affiliated with AT&T, the ones that it went out over, their network that it went out over. I guess they're referring to us because we're the ones who broke that. That's one of the most amazing conspiracy theories you'll ever hear, and it comes from FEMA. Stick with us. You're going to hear an amazing lie from Hillary Clinton. Businesses don't create jobs. She's doubling down on Obama's lies about you didn't build that. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
After consulting top doctors, nutritionists, pharmacists, and others, we have developed what I believe is the ultimate non-GMO organic Super Male Vitality formula. Super Male Vitality by InfoWars Life is so powerful that I only take half the recommended dose.
I jump out of bed ready to fight these criminals every day. I look forward to waking up and taking my Super Male Vitality.
Visit InfoWarsLife.com today to secure your Super Male Vitality and other powerful products from InfoWars Life.
The government's Department of Homeland Security is buying up loads of ammo. At the same time, they're restricting civilians' rights to own and purchase firearms. Can you put two and two together? Infidel Body Armor can stop every round, including hollow points and .308 sniper rounds. Is reasonably priced and fully legal. But for how long? Go to InfidelBodyArmor.com, spelled INFIDEL bodyarmor.com. Infidel Body Armor. Just won't quit.
Aging starts at the cellular level. When cells become toxic, they die early and aging sets in. In the past decade, we have witnessed unparalleled scientific discoveries. During that period, key patented compounds have focused on mitochondrial growth, nerve growth, and rejuvenation. But no one has put together a formula that focuses directly on brain health, nerve growth factors, and optimizing your cellular energy at the same time. We now have the synergistic solution, DNA Force, just one of the key compounds. BioPQQ is backed by major clinical studies and over 175 PubMed-listed published studies. You want the best that's out there at the lowest price anywhere? The ultimate value, cutting-edge, trailblazing game changer that also supports the InfoWar. Secure your DNA Force today at InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139. DNA Force from InfoWars Life.
Using unparalleled research in the development of a synergistic formulation based around the key concepts of super oxygenation, the next level in cleansing is here. With key ingredients backed by real clinical studies, the new Oxy Powder, available through InfoWars Life, was invented during Dr. Group's research on the toxification of our bodies. Many herbal colon cleansers are harsh on the body and contain cheap and potentially dangerous ingredients, oftentimes full of synthetic fillers, GMOs, additives, or worse. Gently start cleaning your body with easy capsules that start working while you sleep. Oxy Powder does not require time off work, and there's no need for bad tasting concoctions. Instead, Oxy Powder slowly releases monoatomic oxygen into the intestinal tract and body. Experience the astonishing cleansing power of superoxide and ozonide technology. Go to InfoWarsLife.com or InfoWarsStore.com to get started with Oxy Powder, or call 1-888-253-3139.
Another major health threat, this one in Toledo, Ohio, where everybody in the entire city has been told not to drink the water.
Ohio's governor declaring a state of emergency.
Did you know that the average person uses about 80 to 100 gallons of water at home every single day? If there's a water emergency, will you be prepared?
Panicked residents forming long lines throughout the day.
We're here at a supermarket in Toledo. You can see the shelves empty where water once was.
To stay safe and healthy during a crisis, you must must have access to safe, clean water. Water which will not be available at your local grocery store.
There's a mad dash on right now to stock up on supplies.
The ProPure Pro 1 G2.0 water filtration system is a must-have for every modern, independently minded household. Protect your family's safety during an emergency. Go to InfoWarsStore.com today to purchase your ProPure Pro 1 G2.0 water filtration system or call 1-888-253-3139.
You're listening to The Alex Jones Show.
Welcome back to The Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight on this Sunday, October 26, 2014.
And domestic. It's Alex Jones.
Now, we were just talking just before this break about this White House emergency alert system that went out. And, of course, it put out this weird message. Everybody was saying, you know, what's this about? It's telling us not to use our cell phones. It's warning people, you know, stay off the phone. It went out over the AT&T Uverse connections. Evidently, it was their customers that it was focused on. And AT&T then responded to this report, to this article that Paul Joseph Watson had on Friday, blaming a, quote, nationally syndicated radio station for sending the alert message, despite the fact that only the federal government, actually only the White House, sends out these emergency alerts. This is something that's under control of the president. And so it raises a lot of questions. But here's where this is going to play out in the broader scheme of things. It's not just an emergency alert that can scare people when they put it out without any reason like they just did. And it actually went out for a couple of hours. The questions remain, how could a radio show that's not affiliated with AT&T, as they said, put this out? Of course, that was what FEMA told them to tell the public. But it's really not just the communications that they want to control for people, telling them don't use your phones, even being able to shut down broadcast television at the same time. This is also about driverless cars. This is about controlling not only your communications, but you're going to eventually have your transportation, your movement controlled very much as well. Understand that driverless cars are not self-driving cars, as they like to tell everybody. Right now, a self-driving car is essentially what you've got. You're driving the car yourself. What you're going to have is a computer-driven car under control of the government or the large corporations that work with the government, that the government works for, where you can't tell where one ends and the other begins, like Uber. The CEO of Uber has said what makes his service and other taxi services expensive is that other dude in the car with you when you're driving around. He said, once we get rid of that other dude in the car, in other words, we're just going to have a computer-controlled car. Once we get rid of that other dude, you're going to find that it's very cheap. As a matter of fact, it's going to be so cheap that you're not going to want to have individual car ownership. We're going to go down the same path, and I think it's only about 5 to 6 years. They're accelerating this very, very rapidly. If you look, it was just back in March and April that they were talking about how the legal framework was being adjusted at that time. In the European Union, also in the United States, allowing them to legally run self-driving autonomous cars on the streets in Europe and in America. The technology is not the obstacle. It's really the legal issues and customer acceptance. I think a lot of people don't like to drive. They want to just sit there. They would just love to sit there and play with Facebook and Twitter as they're being transported from place to place. They don't understand the issues of autonomy and liberty. And they don't understand how this is going to put them under the control of the government. Understand that the very interstate system was originally started by the military. It was Eisenhower who took a trip up in the Northeast, and he was going from one place to the other. He wrote a book on his experience, how difficult it was to move these military, this military convoy from one part of the country to the other on the current road system. Then during World War II, he saw the Autobahn that Hitler had created and said, we've got to have that. Their first primary concern was to move the military around. But they also today want to control not only what opinions are being formed on the internet. They not only want to control the information that you receive with these emergency alerts, but they also want to be able to control your movement. This is going to be the perfect way that they'll be able to do it. And it's going to go down the same way that smartphones did. Remember the files that were released from the NSA talking as part of the Snowden releases, and it showed a couple of presentations. One of them said, who would have thought in 1984, and they showed the picture, the famous iconic 1984 commercial from Apple about the iPhone. They said, who would have thought in 1984, show a picture of that this would become Big Brother. That's the next slide. And they show Steve Jobs holding up an iPhone. So they say the iPhone would become Big Brother. Then the third slide says, and that they would willingly pay for it. And it shows everybody lined up feverishly to get their new iPhones or their new iPads. That's the way it's going to happen with self-driving cars, as they like to call it. People will pay for their own slavery. They'll put some features, some bells and whistles in it. They'll make life even more passive, even more comfortable for you. And you will give up your freedom to ride in this driverless car that's going to run you everywhere you think that you want to go. Of course, there'll be places that will be off limit to you. There'll be times when they can just shut down transportation, or maybe they'll just key something in and say, drive Joe to the nearest FEMA camp. And there you go, just like in Minority Report. Remember that? He gets in the car, locks the doors, says it's going to take him to the police station. That's the future if they're allowed to do this type of thing. When they take over communications and make this clear, this is something that it's not just taking control of the different broadcast frequencies. We see them moving in the internet range. We see them also moving to shut down and monitor and adjust content. We've had the director of the FCC point out that they wanted to do this survey. That was broken a few months ago, where they wanted to do a survey of print newsrooms, of internet news, as well as broadcast news. They don't even have the authority to look at content of broadcast stations, let alone these other outlets, but that's where they're moving. He also, the same FCC commissioner, also pointed out that the National Science Foundation put out a multi-million-dollar grant in a Truthy project, saying essentially they were going to look at how memes were created, how information was passed on social networks. They were going to vet that and see what was truthful and what wasn't, how opinions are shaped. That's what they're really concerned about, how opinions are shaped. They're not concerned about the truth. That's why we see this phony explanation from AT&T about how a radio show could hijack their emergency alert system that's under control of the president. Of course, they don't say who that is, but I imagine they're referring to us since we broke that. Now, we've also got an amazing admission that came out just a couple of days ago over this weekend from Hillary Clinton. Remember when Obama said, you didn't build that? You know, if you got a business, you didn't build that. Well, Hillary Clinton said this.
Don't let anybody tell you that, you know, it's corporations and businesses that create jobs. You know, that old theory, trickle-down economics. That has been tried. That has failed.
There you go. See, it's not, if you got a job, you didn't get that job because that was created by somebody who worked hard, who saved their money, who created a company, who saw it growing. And of course, one man can't control a growing company. He's going to have to hire people. Businesses, you know, there's an element of truth in what she has to say, that their goal is not to create jobs. Their goal is to create profits. But in order to do that, they have to create jobs. See, unlike Hillary Clinton, they have to create jobs. Now, she does create jobs. You know, the governors and the presidents, when they go to the debates and they brag about how many jobs they create, in most of those cases, they're taking credit for the hard work, the savings of other people. But in many cases, they do create jobs. You know, Obama has created 16,000 IRS jobs as part of Obamacare. Now, he's also driven out of business a lot of independent physicians, driven them into retirement, made it clear to them that they don't want to stay in that business. That's the fruit of it. It's not how many jobs you create, but what you're creating the jobs to do. And it's not the type of jobs we want to see being created. Right after the break, we're going to talk about a story that's breaking in the New York Times. A law lets the IRS seize accounts on suspicion with no crime required. Stay with us. We're going to be right back. If you want to call in and talk about if you created jobs, if you got a business, call us at 877-789-2539.
The experts are clear. Sunlight, purified water, healthy non-GMO food, and having a good attitude is essential to a healthy immune system. But I go further with Super Nascent Iodine X2 from InfoWarsLife.com. 50% stronger than our original and revolutionary Nascent Iodine formula. Coming from a deep earth crystal source that no other supplier has. Most other forms of iodine come from seaweed in areas plagued by Fukushima and other contaminants. Not our iodine. It comes from over 200 million-year-old crystal salt deposits and is tested and proven to be completely pure. Visit InfoWarsLife.com today. See the informational videos. Read the information they're compiled. And for a limited time, when you use promo code NOW at checkout, you get an additional 5% off the entire family of InfoWarsLife.com products. Secure.